So you're all set on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
All set, Carol?
I guess there was some question on who's gonna move it. It's either Jason or Matt. They're gonna work that out. Anyway,
You all set, Carol?
Mhm.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. We'll call select board meeting. May 20th, 2025 to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So. Now, going to open the meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Four. Carol, four, and Doug, yeah,
There he is.
5-0.
Yes.
So, this is the portion of the meeting where we open it for public comment, to discuss items not on the agenda. Things won't probably be acted on tonight, but we will take information for a future meeting. Do you have anybody that needs to speak into public comment?
Dan, I would just like to recognize the work from the Senior Resource Committee on their program they did Mother's Day weekend on planning for the end of life. I'm not sure exactly what they called it, but we attended last year and it was a really good program and they did it again this year. So if we could maybe send them acknowledgement to that. I think Kim Hagan was the one who was putting it together, so.
And also, I would like to commend the Belgrade Historical Society on a really nice program last night of trivia, Belgrade trivia at the Sunset Grill. This is the second or
Third time.
third
They
time
did
that
twice
they've done
last-
this.
Yeah,
And it is really fun, and there was a full house, and I think everybody had a really good time.
I
Yeah.
by the parking lot.
it was packed.
It was packed,
Yeah.
and there was so much arcane Belgrade history. And I sort of went, and people actually knew the answers to the questions. But it was really fun, and Belgrade Historical Society did a great job of running it.
Thank you to both the groups. Job well done. Anyone else? No, so we'll close any public comment and move on to approval, review and approval of the minutes, May 6th. We'll start with May 6th. Anybody make a motion?
So moved?
Second,
Anyone have any corrections?
I had one correction on page 4. Kind of towards the bottom where it said, Chair Dan Newman asked town manager to include fire auxiliary. It should be, Fire and Rescue Association.
Only thing I got, Dan, I don't know, I didn't bring my copy with me. I don't know on which minutes it was on, but where it says 75% would be of the grant, the 75% just needs to be taken out because I'm not 100% sure if we come up with the exact percentages down match to the federal grant match. I can't remember if that was on Friday's meeting or Tuesday's meeting.
It's not on the 9th, it must be the 6th. I think.
I don't know if that's any importance, but just, it's not 75%. It's less than that.
It would cover, we could say up to
Yeah, there you go.
75%.
Right, that's on
That's on
page 3.
page 3 at the top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
See it.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the changes,
Looked okay.
all right, so all those in favor of the amended minutes?
Hmm.
2, 3, 4, and Doug's 5. Next one is May 9th, 2025 minutes.
Move to approve.
Second,
It's pretty simple, I don't see anything.
okay,
All right, so all those in favor? 5-0.
I did not get a, who did the motion and seconded on the amended May sixth.
We didn't motion second on that, so.
So moved.
and I think it's seconded.
Dan and Carol or Barbara and Carol? Barbara Carol, got it. Thank you very much.
Business, Parks and Rec, video equipment. Is about the reserve accounts.
So if you remember, we have discussed it a few times when Dan was director. He had researched a few different companies that offered equipment for us. The last one that he had come up with contacted me, and I put them in touch with Kristen. So Kristen was able to speak with them, and they did provide an estimate, so she forwarded that over to me. That's in your packet. The first thing I would like to note is the cost, which is $22,000, which is above our $15,000 threshold. So if we're looking at that sort of money, you would want to put out an RFP. Also, we've only dedicated 7,500 out of ARPA for
Right.
equipment. So if you were going to go above that, you would need to look at the reserve account for those additional funds. So. not
Will
sure-
this
not
allow
sure
us
how you'd
to
like
Zoom from the Center for All Seasons?
I'm sorry.
Will this allow us to Zoom?
So as Lorna said, this was looked at prior to my arrival. I did follow up with Rollins, which is the estimate that you have there. If I'm being very forthcoming, the estimate that we have there, in my personal opinion, would not be how I would have prioritized an AV equipment system. I was anticipating we would be able to Zoom, we would be able to Bluetooth, and it would really address the needs of both the select board coming down for town meetings. And as we look at growing rentals, specifically some of those corporate rentals who are looking to use our projection and our speaker
Right.
system, this is pretty limiting for $22,000. We are still going to be working from an audio-visual cart with a sound bar, as you can see on the estimate. We are using our own speakers. There will be nothing permanent in either the social room or the gymnasium. It would essentially be the whole. I'd also like to note in here that they've never done a site visit. So everything that they're giving us an estimate on, because they are from out of state, is solely based on photos that Dan had taken. And then they showed me, I made some corrections to that. We've gone back and forth a number of times, but if I were going to prioritize, I would like to see it move towards an RFP anyway. Primarily because I want to look at usability. And if you're looking at a system that requires us to be trained, that's staffing for events.
Yep.
For somebody to operate it. That particular system requires us to switch the switchboard out that we have right now. There's still going to be multiple channels that you can only go between the two, and you still wouldn't be able to Bluetooth in or use Zoom. So you're still going to be using additional equipment. To me, it's not a great use of funds. I have reached out to Maine Commercial AV Solutions in Southern Maine. So they're gonna just have a phone call with me. I told them it'll have to go for proposal anyway, but they had some alternative suggestions that were at a much lower rate. If we're looking at the reserve account, Orna had given us the balance. That balance that you have, Orna, is prior to the final payment that needs to be made to the pool for $3,200. And it's also prior to what was voted on at the town meeting, which said we would go up to $75,000 for the RFP for the architect at the building committee. So if we're looking at that, it leaves us with a total of 21,774 and some change.
In the
So,
reserve. Total
In the reserve, after, if we were to go with this estimate of $22,000. So just like that to be taken into consideration.
Would this solve the problem that we have at town meeting when you can't hear with some of the mics? I mean,
It's not gonna solve some of it because we are working in a gymnasium, so they're pretty transparent about that. You're gonna probably still be working from a sound bar regardless of who we go to. You can't put fixed speakers in there, so we are still gonna be working off speakers on a stand. It'll help some, but it's not the way, with those old soundproof chops to the gymnasium, it's not gonna be 100% solution. So if we were looking at addressing that issue, and we were looking at supporting recreation in some way, from my standpoint, I don't need the system for that amount of money. But if we're gonna look at it anyway, regardless, then I would like it to help us with larger rentals coming in and still being able to use it.
Kristen, it says that they're, in Bangor and they have a 207 number.
This,
So-
this company,
Wrong.
but the people that we're dealing with are actually out of state,
Oh,
so they.
Because it seems like if they're in
they
Bangor, if they have an operation in Bangor, they
Yeah.
can send somebody down, it's
Right.
not that far.
Right, the gentleman that does the sales for this particular system would be traveling from Connecticut. They
Oh,
would be
okay.
expecting
Oh.
us to cover their cost to travel. You'll notice at the bottom that the estimate is $7,975 is for the estimated labor. I did question that because $217.50 an hour and $145 a standard rate an hour for an architect that isn't permanently installing anything seems a little ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
This estimate is also only good for 15 days based on tariffs and the cost. So we would be looking at, if we don't make a decision immediately, we've got to go back to an estimate again, and he said anywhere between 15 and
Yeah.
20% markup. So I think moving forward, we would look to put out an RFP to see if we can get some additional estimates.
Right,
Yeah, when you and I
think
spoke
that's a good
earlier,
idea.
you had said this really doesn't meet the needs, what we're looking for. And it makes no sense to have a system that you've got to train a staff member on and then expect that staff member or another staff member trained to be at an event to run the system.
And it seems a little antiquated that we're still gonna be pushing a giant cart, which we already have storage issues at the Center for LCS.
Right, sure.
So we're gonna be moving that back and forth regardless.
yeah, my sense is that we maybe put together what we think we need and then put out an RFP and see what we get for pricing, because this isn't meeting our needs and it's over our budget.
Okay. And when do we have, is there a deadline for this?
We should do it as soon as
Right,
possible.
okay.
So you and I should get together and figure out. Jamie, maybe you can sit in, figure out what the needs are and
Okay.
fashion a RFP and get that out as soon as possible.
So
I
rec
need a
board,
motion. I need a motion.
I
So
would-
I move that we approve Kristen and Lorna to develop an RFP to be sent out for an AV system for the Center for All Seasons. Which we would then look at a subsequent meeting.
Yes, it would come to you on.
Yeah, it'll come back.
Not the RFP, but once we got bids in, then of course they would come to you.
All the RFP, you just want us an email to you. Look at it.
Okay, yep, I can do that, absolutely, I'll make a note.
and the rec board meets tomorrow night, so we'll discuss our needs.
That would be
and then if
great.
You have your list of
Perfect.
needs for the town meeting, that would be helpful.
Make sure you include Mary in it. Too, because I mean, it's stuff to do with the voting, I think she goes down the army. Maybe. Not for that, too, who knows? All right, so you made the
I
motion,
made the motion.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
all right, all those in favor? 4, 5. 5, nothing.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, move on to new business, committee appointments and resignations. We have none.
And
None.
And then.
none.
Guess we don't
Okay.
need that. Okay,
I would like to propose that we move Cummings and Son up in the agenda. Since they're here from
okay.
outside.
No, did you move that?
Yeah.
Second.
Move that we
Okay,
invite the Cummings to.
Right,
speak.
yeah.
okay.
At this
all in
time.
favor?
Mm.
Yep, all right, so we'll move that up.
Mhm.
The next thing is the plowing contract. Welcome.
So how did it go?
We managed, I guess, we made it through. It wasn't bad, the plowing's the easy part, keeping the junk truck running is the hard part. Tried to do the best we could, the contract was 5 trucks, there was 4 or 5 storms, I put on an extra truck just to make sure we. Tried to keep ahead of the storm, a couple of storms got ahead of us, they came down faster than we could plow it, I mean. We could only scrape it as much as we could, we try to do the best we can, I mean.
I really
I-
didn't hear any complaints, so.
I try to plow the roads as if my family lives here and drives on the roads too, I mean. Try to keep it as safe as we can for everybody.
Yeah, so you're saying that there were times, several times where you had 6 trucks and not just
I
5?
put an extra truck on, I got 7 trucks. And I try to keep a spare and don't always work, first storm, he didn't last very far with his truck, he blew a hose on it and it was done, but. I mean, we ran them before the storm and it just, older stuff, it just, the rust and the rot on them, it's just fittings go to that, and hoses go fat and. We
Is
do
this
what we can
the-
do, but
Is this the equipment from the Warren Brothers?
yes. Yeah,
So you have a plan?
we've looked, we've been to a couple auctions, looking at other stuff, but it ain't cheap. I mean, I looked at a new truck, my new truck's $300,000 for a new wheeler. I don't know how complaints were or what there was on the road, if we wanna be doing it anymore, as far as you're concerned or not, but
I think I only had 2 complaints. One was to push the banks back in one area. And then one early morning, I had a complaint, that the road was slippery, so we needed some sand. And I got those to you and you took care of them right away, and that's all I had all season.
I never really heard anything, so.
That was it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, no, I didn't hear anything.
the sand shed was pretty empty, I don't know. I spoke with Jason, he said keep using it, it was gonna try to, I think, spray the walls down inside the sand shed, so he put no more sand back in, but. I don't know in a normal season if we use enough sand, too much sand, I don't know.
I didn't have any complaints about,
Yeah, I mean,
except that the West Road that was one morning.
I mean, we'd rather have. As little sand as you can get away with, but keep trying, because the more sand you put on, the more it ends up on the sides of the roads.
Oh, yeah,
The more we have to take care of that too.
Yep.
so.
Yep.
It's kind of a happy medium, you can't please everybody.
I tried to judge it when we go out by the other towns around us.
Yeah.
I meet Manchester on 135. He'll meet Oakland on one end and Smithfield on one end, he'll meet Mount Vernon on one end of his and. We try to be there before they get there, tells us if we're on time or if we're late or this or that, so. Most of the time, we was ahead of the other roads or real close to being there with them, we could see their trucks going when we made it to the end of the roads to turn around and start back, so. Like I said, it was our first year, we was learning this, to do it as we went. I'd like to upgrade trucks, but being a 3-year contract, I can't spend $300,000 for a truck and pay for it in 3 years' time.
right,
I don't know if it's a possibility, if we can go with a longer contract. I don't know. We would like to keep doing it if you're willing to have us do it. But as far as going and buying 1 or 2 new trucks, it's hard to pay for that kind of truck with a 3-year contract.
well, we
Yeah.
did,
Did we have, I think we had some sort of extension
She's gonna see if she can
in the
pull a
contract. One is gonna check to see. if we
Okay,
can-
I didn't know, but I know we got 2 more years left on ours that we signed now, but
Right,
I'm thinking down the road, before I spend that kind of money, I don't know, probably 2 years and somebody else come take the contract, I still got 2 years to pay on a truck,
right,
or 2 trucks or something.
right.
I can tell you, there's gonna be very few people who are gonna come try to take the contract.
That's right.
well, and you know, if you don't do it, or we have to take it over, it takes us 2 years to suit up.
Yeah.
So I think, certainly from my perspective, I'll just speak for me, is I think we need to look at extending the contract so that we know we always have 2 years if something goes bad. If you
Security
guys
behind
say, we're out of here, and we're like,
Yeah.
we've got to have 2 years to suit up. So we don't want you to tell us next year with 1 year left that you're not doing it, because
Right.
then everyone's in a world of hurt.
Yeah, no, the way we're going now. I see this as something being 10 to 15 years for us, at least if we can.
Mhm.
Like I said, I got 7 plow trucks, I bought 2 loaders to go with it, so that's all extra stuff that I didn't need doing dirt work that I always do.
Right,
The other thing you might wanna check too, when you're talking auctions and stuff, there's a bunch of big auction companies in Florida.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people go down there with these contracts and they build the roads, they buy all new equipment, they build the roads, and then they put all their equipment up for auction. They go to the next state and they buy new
I
equipment.
would love to do that if I could, but you don't have any plow trucks in Florida.
Yeah, but they do have the wheelers and stuff, so.
Yeah.
You could buy those and at least bring them up here and outfit them.
But to change the bodies, they say it's a 2-year wait period right now. I went and looked at having a truck built for me, and they said, if you can find a truck, the components to put it together on the bodies, they're waiting 2 years right now to get a body to put on the trucks. To see, it
That's a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, it's hard.
depends on what you're getting and what it
It's,
is.
it's even hard to get the 1-ton dumps.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yep,
I don't
Nope,
see
it
an
is.
extension, it looks like just a regular 3-year contract.
Okay. I
Okay,
think we've got something though in our towns. Things that allows us to extend, so can we do some research on that?
I know the transfer station contract with waste management, we can extend,
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
think
sure
we
you
can
can
extend
extend
up to a certain point without going back to the voters.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not an extension.
Cause we've done that on multiple things, so.
Alright, and if you're gonna do an extension, I think to be fair to them, if they're willing to do it, and if you guys are willing to do it, is I would shoot to do, they've already got 1 year. Through the contract, extend their contract for 3 years, or redo a contract for a 5-year contract, then that gives them the commitment to purchase trucks.
Yeah,
Right.
as long as we can by
Yeah.
what the way the town's statutes are set up.
right,
We'll have
for the auction stuff we've looked at. Our trucks actually are better than a lot of the stuff that's been at the auctions.
yeah,
Yeah, the only time you're gonna find anything halfway decent auctions, probably the state sales, the state sells.
They're taking their stuff apart now.
Yeah.
They're not leaving, they got aluminum bodies on them when I went, they had some, and I bid on a couple of the trucks. But they won't let you go, it's all online, you can't go and actually look at the trucks themselves with your own eye.
Mhm.
They wouldn't let me go in the yard, I went down to Augusta in the yard, and the trucks was lined up, they said, oh, we can't go over there.
You used to be able to go.
Yeah,
to-
Yeah, you could walk all around, well,
Yeah.
last year they wouldn't let me do it. They're taking the bodies apart on them, they're taking the pieces they can reuse now, they're reusing the trucks apart, and they're putting them on the newer trucks when they come.
Probably because they can't get this.
right, because they probably have the exact same problem, right? Getting pieces and parts.
All right, well, we'll do some research. See what we can do, because I mean, I'm in favor of extending it out, so
I,
as long as
I
we can
think the
do it,
same way.
we're legal about it.
I think you did a great job. I live on
Thank
Horse
you.
Point Road and it's the worst, and it was considering you
People
were
know that.
learning.
Well, that's
It
it,
was, it was good.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Is there any future of hot top in here, anything? Was it Dameron Road?
That's,
That's this.
Yeah, they are gonna
This
have
is-
to,
Okay, that's gonna get
This
something
time.
on it, that was terrible problem this year, that was bad.
that's one of the roads.
We've got
Okay.
three or four.
We have 6.2 miles we're
Right.
supposed
Foster
to,
Point,
yeah.
Foster Point, Damon
That was
Road,
another one.
McGraw Pond Road, and Horse Point Road.
So.
And
those-
Stevens
Oh,
And
Stevens
if it's enough.
is our last one, if
If
we
there's
have to ditch it, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
So we do
I
have,
know the dirt part of it, it's hard, and you try to plow, but you try not to plow, especially with the big truck.
They should be starting paving pretty
It's
soon.
pretty-
We've got the
Yeah.
sign
And
of
the frozen
contract
ain't
in
bad,
place.
when it's frozen, it ain't frozen, it's sawed, it's hard.
yeah, yeah.
that should be happening.
Is there a turnaround on the end of Location Road?
Right at the very end, yeah.
Is that, whose property is that? Is it actually town property?
That right away is town right away, yes, the town put that right away in right at the very end.
On the right?
Yeah.
Well, it needs a little bit of dirt work or something there, 'cause it ain't real smooth, but there was 2 pickups parked right in the end of that this year.
School bus turns around there. Yeah, it's a
So the
bus
school
turn.
bus turns around in the fellow's driveway just before it,
Yeah.
'cause that's where I turn around most of the winter in the plow truck.
Yeah, cause that's what that was put in.
Mary would know.
Yeah, that was put in years
But it's-
ago.
It's pretty rough, it
If
ain't
we
like
need to
it's
get
a,
Jason over there with some material. in
it
as
ain't like
well, and
it's
then-
easy, there's an all belly
Back
there
in
with
there,
a
we're
snow
gonna have to
plow.
have them towed.
Way on it.
Signs.
Yeah.
It's hard to get in there, and turn on, there's a big pile of dirt or something in the end, you can only push it just so far to try to turn around.
Yeah,
Yeah, if we have.
Thank
to,
you for letting us know.
We'll put in
Yeah.
some signs that say no parking towaways on, they They parked.
Well, there's this fellow there that lives in the garage, I don't know him, but he moved one of the trucks back out of the way, but it was still there. I mean,
It's in that.
It was tight pushing, and like I say, a couple of storms, weren't much snow, I backed in his driveway and turned around where his garage was. But when it's soft ground, there wasn't much gravel in it, and I sunk pretty bad in the plow truck.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean. On my part of it, there wasn't much, anything else on your route?
The road that goes down behind the grill. There's no designated turnaround. I just used someone's driveway because I didn't really know where to exactly turn around.
Yeah, the beach is
It's
the
true,
only
it's
place to turn around.
Cause it's hard when it's snowing to back down in the beach and the public parking, cause you get stuck there all
You
the time.
can't get out.
Can't get out, yeah.
That's downhill.
Yep.
That's a tough one.
Yeah,
There is no-
cause you just plow to the waterfront, you don't plow along the lake, right? That's
No, we have
private.
hot
I
dogs,
stopped
right
right
there.
at the end of the hot top.
Yeah,
Probably
yeah.
two telephone pole past where the public swimming. place
Right,
is.
yeah,
There
there's
is
public
no
beach
turnaround
there.
I don't, nobody complained, nobody said anything, but. If somebody does complain, I don't know what you do, I don't know how you get around that, nobody's complained yet, but.
I don't know how the Warren boys did it. I don't know if they.
I think they had a question from, what's the gentleman's name that owns Bees and Trees and he owns the
Oh,
house?
Yeah.
Mike and,
We do have legal turnarounds. We have a list of them. So, and there is one down there on Lakeview Drive, and there's one on the Location Road as well. So,
Well, we'll have to take a look at it and find out exactly where it is.
Okay,
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, so it sounds like we'll look into that and let you know where you can turn around.
Yep.
I
We
think-
made it, I mean, we got through it and did it, but.
I think you did guys did a great job this year. So.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
and we don't want you to get stuck in the driveway.
All right, so we'll look at it.
Okay. Thank
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
All right.
all you
Get out of
do.
here.
All right, now we'll go back to the monthly department committee presentation, Belgrade Public Library. Derek.
All right, pretty standard goings on at the library. We're finishing up scheduling for summer programs. We've got a number of them scheduled so far. We got a community read that we selected earlier this year. It's called The American by Abdinor Ifton. We're gonna have him come and speak on the 20th of August. Got two Chewonki programs we are sharing with the Center for All Seasons. We're gonna have a bug mobile. And then the other program is called Scales and Tails. It's about lizards and,
What's a bugmobile?
oh, it's live
Okay,
bugs
it's
that like little. Oh, gosh, words.
I saw spiders even on.
Yeah, they have like spiders and stuff and like little models of bugs that, you know,
Let's bite you down one.
they share natural history stuff. That's kind of the whole deal. And as creepy crawly as many bugs are, you know, they're kind of important for breaking down.
I know, I don't know, you know.
Jared,
Yes,
are those programs at the Center for All Seasons?
they will be at the Center for All
And so they're
Seasons,
during
yes.
the day camp, and are they open to the public as well?
They will, yeah.
Okay, and there's plenty of room for,
We're gonna, Jared and I have been talking via email, so we'll coordinate all of that and we'll
Okay.
extend it. We have quite a homeschool group list going from the area, so we'll extend the emails there and then, you know.
And so last couple years, we had shared some programs and we easily have room down there for like 90 people to show up. So,
in addition to the camp. Oh,
maybe,
because the campers.
the camp can get pretty close to those numbers.
85.
Yeah. But it hasn't really been an issue in the past. There's always been a lot of free seating, even with all the campers. Let's see, we're also gonna have Maureen Milliken, who's a local author here in Belgrade. She's gonna give an author talk. We've got a number of book groups happening.
Is there a story stroll this year?
We are going to have a story stroll. It's gonna be at the health center. And it's going to be, the book they're gonna have up there is Sugar and Milk.
Is
So-
what, Jared?
What's that?
What's the name of it?
It's called Sugar in Milk.
So what is a story stroll?
So
What is
we're gonna take a book, cut it up, laminate all the pages, put them on posts and have them like align the walking path down at the health center. So that people can, walk along the path with their
And
kids
read.
or whatnot
That's kind
and
of cool.
go
Yeah.
through the story.
Get exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. That's nice.
We just recently finished our spring bingo program and we had. I think 5 people complete that, which is $25 a piece, which is
Wow.
quite a bit of reading over. And that was only 2 months, so we got some readers here in town.
Were those adults or kids?
Those are adults.
Adults.
We're going to be doing our summer reading program as well, and that one's more kid focused. And yeah. And that one's gonna be starting, it's on here somewhere. Yeah, June 24th. June 24th through August 29th.
It might be nice if you had those 5 readers, maybe get them together, take their picture and put it out on Facebook
Yeah,
so that we begin to get people really
gets
feeling
people interested, right?
interested in doing it.
We'll certainly consider that. Let's see, also, we recently sat down with some people from Literacy Volunteers of Kennebec and Anthony Wilson and a person from our trustees board as well as our friends group. And we all spoke about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which Kennebec is now a part of. It's apparently done by county, so it's not so much like a Belgrade is signing up for it, it's more like Kennebec is, as a whole, is signed up for it. We are going to be, we decided, all of us that a donation of $1,000 towards it would be a pretty reasonable donation. It's gonna come out of our capital reserve account. But there are already 23 families here in Belgrade who signed up like over the past, I don't know, like 6 months. And so we believe that, the Imagination Library, which is a program where children, when they're born and through the age of 5, can sign up to receive a free book every month. And so it's very much in line with our literacy goals. And so even though it isn't directly getting people to come to the library, we very much feel that it is in line with them.
And you said we have 23 families in town
I believe that's the number,
that are participating already?
yeah, which is,
That's really good.
Yeah.
And families just sign up
yep,
themselves?
Can
absolutely.
you send out some information on that?
I can absolutely do that.
And do we have a link on our website, the library page or anything like that for people to?
Not yet,
Like
but
a
we're
flyer or something we
we're
could promote?
getting there, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I absolutely wanted to, get it on the town's website as well, just to
Yeah.
get it to more
if
faces.
you can get some information, we can get that posted pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The other question I've got is, do we have to approve, since it's a donation, not purchasing something, do we as a select board have to approve that?
so I spoke with my trustees about it and they approved it, but that is a question, I don't know. It's gonna come out of our capital reserve, so it's,
Maybe Mary, you there, do you know?
I don't think you can do that. Mary, I don't think you can do that. You can't make a donation out of a reserve account, can we?
No, we have to take a look at the purpose the reserve account was set up for.
Right.
So, and that's the purpose that you can use it for. So, yeah. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into it further to see how it was set up.
Yeah,
If it were to provide books or something like that, I guess
yeah.
I guess
It's
you
buying
could-
books for the town.
right, you could, right, but you could consider, because a donation helps to provide books to the 23 families, right? They get a free book every month.
so I guess my question about the capital reserve is that, what is the wording regarding the capital reserve account?
Right,
Because
that's-
it's like lapsed
We
funds.
We have a written document about the capital reserve account and for the purpose that it can be used for, as we do every other reserve account. We can send that off to you,
Okay.
Jared.
Yeah, we haven't, like, I haven't submitted the payment yet or anything, so.
Yeah.
You know, we're not at the place where I've already spent the money at this point.
Yeah, so I think most capital reserves, we have to approve the
Yeah.
expenditure.
Yeah,
Okay.
you do, only the
Right.
board can approve that.
Let's find out what we need to do, make sure we're doing it right.
Sounds good.
Right, and so that's the way the Dolly Parton Imagination, whatever it is, library, works, is they ask for donations from participating municipalities or?
Yes, well, they kind of ask for donations as from anywhere that they can get them. I know that they've spoken to all the libraries here in Kennebec County. Because the,
And have you been in touch with some of those libraries to find out at what level they're contributing?
I haven't spoken directly to other libraries, but in the meeting with a person whose name I can't remember right now from Kennebec Literacy Volunteers, they were mentioning like how other libraries had already contributed, but I don't have monetary values.
Do you know what the $1,000 goes toward? Is it just operating costs or does it?
It goes towards purchasing books, so it's like they get a heavy discount on their books, like heavy, it's like $2 per book. And the request that they, or what they request for people is like a $1.20 towards that purchase, basically. So it's kind of, it's very much an amalgamation of every different possible way they can think about funding it.
So if they're suggesting $1.20 per book, which is per month, right, then it would be 12 times $1.20 per child per year, so that would be kind of a way to.
Yeah, and they have all sorts of like calculators, you know, this is an estimated cost. This is, you know, not a direct, it wouldn't be like a direct, like one for one kind of.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but if that's their guideline,
Yeah,
you know, then you could see
So you're looking at $14.40 a kid
$14.40 per child.
per child
Per year.
per year.
So if there are 23 families, that's more than 23 children probably.
So in a sense,
Right.
you're not, they're not providing something free, you're making a donation which covers, right?
Covers part of it.
so like, I guess the reason that they were going around to all the libraries requesting donations is that the program has already started and like people within all of the towns in Kennebec are already receiving books, so it's like they kind of maybe jumped the gun a little bit on getting the program started in order to get the ball rolling. And I think I would need to, you know, speak or have another meeting with them to hammer out all the details, but I could absolutely.
There are some extensions
So-
of that too. I think when Jared makes that donation, I know that Lithgow Library, for example, is utilizing that program. Because we have some homeschool families that are going
Okay.
there. But there are extension resources for librarians. So if you wanted to take advantage of, you're gonna do an in-person story time, for example. They will provide you with additional resources based on your contribution. So there are some pieces that go with it.
I think it's a good program.
I do too.
I don't have any
Yeah.
problem with it. I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure we do it the right way.
Yeah,
The right
I
way.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we can utilize funds out of reserve, I don't think we
Yeah.
can, but.
Mary.
I'm just gonna say, so Jared, you have a lot of other special fund accounts that may
I do, yeah.
qualify for donations. I'm gonna get you a complete list of all your special funds, the reasons they were set up, and the trust account or the reserve account.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and not that I'm not suggesting we shouldn't be generous with the Dolly Parton Foundation, or whatever, the dog park program.
Right,
But let's just make sure that we're within the range of what's appropriate for a town of 3,000 population.
yeah. So I think, it's a total of 60 books if they stick with the program from birth to 5 years old.
Right,
Right.
And
So it's about $72
per person.
per child for a 5-year commitment. 1440 times 5 years.
Where do they come up with that $1,000? Because basically everybody, each town pays $1,000.
That was a number that was just kind of close to, I think the number that they gave me was like 900 and something for like to fund the whole program for all the people using it.
Yeah, so basically, if we have 23 people, that isn't gonna say, we may, once you get this information out, we may have
Right.
70 people.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not gonna cut it off.
No,
Donation is gonna be the donation that's gonna
Right.
cover.
Right.
So one town may only have 40 people.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
I think they must pool all the money and just.
It's a
I
cool
think-
program if they give a child a book every month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right,
right.
yeah.
That's-
Yeah, so I've heard about
yeah,
that.
it's a
That's
I think
really good.
the full commitment, if every single family were to utilize it in Kennebec, it'd be like 140,000.
Yeah,
Is what they were saying.
Quite a lot.
Yeah,
So, yeah, let's just make sure we do it the right way.
Kids are
Yes.
reading it.
absolutely. So yeah. Other than that, I think that's what I got going on.
All right, well, thank you.
I have another question.
Yes,
Are there other ancillary programs in addition to the story?
We are still-
Is an immigration, a book about immigration, right? The story.
right, yes, it is. We are working with, we are going to try to work with Capillary and New Maynard's project to get a program about, immigration and different cultures, stuff like that.
Cool.
We're gonna do one of those as well. And, yeah,
Can can
Yes.
you you anticipate doing an in-person story time again? Because we've had a lot of people ask.
I know we've had a lot of questions. Kim is not super psyched about doing that. We've tried doing it a couple times and no one ever shows up, even after we've had direct questions about it. Like, yes, we will do an in-person story time. It's gonna happen at this time and then
Even in the summer?
even in the summer. But it hasn't been every year and we're like. It's kind of like a difficult thing to get going that gets easier once it gets going.
Right, because it's like any other program, once you
Yeah.
get it started, once word gets out. But it seems like the summer would be a good time to start something like that when there are more families around.
When were you doing it? What time of day were you doing?
So, we were doing it, Thursday is 10:30.
Because I was just wondering if they wanted to get it started. Why don't we think about doing it down at the rec center for the kids?
Yeah.
And then invite anyone else who wants to come to it for that hour or whatever.
I had
Come in
extended
and
that
do that.
invitation back at the winter to Kim. I think maybe, you could ask her. I don't know, she just wasn't comfortable in the in-person.
Yeah.
I didn't want to overstep boundaries, but we started the toddler program, so 9 to 11 was open gym for toddlers, and then 11 to 1 was homeschool gym. It started off with like 3 families, and then before we knew it, we had a gym of like 35 kids.
I was just thinking, if
It's
you
a
did it down
perfect
there,
place
if
to
you
do it.
started it down there, at least you've already got an audience.
Right,
More people wanna come,
right,
you know, they.
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm happy to revisit
Might be
that.
something.
But you can't do it during the summer.
We can't do it during the summer, so the summertime, it would need to be a library event. I mean, when we are able to offer it, but even the Village Green, like, I think that's such a great place. to
That's
have
where I was
story
gonna
time in the
suggest.
gazebo
In the
and
gazebo, that would
kids
be
can play
awesome.
after if it were me, but.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was gonna say, if you could do it at the village, if you could do it at the Village Green and do maybe some books that are more on exercise or somersaults or
Maybe we
circus
could
or
do some like,
whatever, so the kids could be doing somersaults and carve, I mean, something that sort of
Engages
includes
them.
activity.
I'd definitely be interested in like looking into doing not necessarily a weekly program if it were going to be like down there. Because, if it's Thursday at 10:30, that means Kim, who's my library assistant, would have to be down there. for
Right, so
that.
Well,
You would
yeah, I
have
mean, I'm
just one
thinking more
staff
like a
person.
Saturday morning. When the parents are around, they could get the kids down, they could go do that, then they could go do something else if. You know, in the summer, that might be an activity to look at, so they're not in your way if that's available. They're not, you have a full camp, so it's hard to have more people in there.
Right,
But if it's off-site, whatever time of year it is, then that's a problem for you in terms of staffing, because you generally have 2 people on
yeah,
site.
Yeah,
I mean. I'm comfortable being there by myself for a couple
Yeah,
hours,
yeah.
but,
yeah,
but like. It is,
But
a
we have a
consideration. It's a consideration.
We have a policy, or I don't know if we have a policy, but we have a understanding that
Yes,
there will
I think
generally.
it's, I
be
think it's an
2 people,
understanding,
right.
Yeah,
not so much policy.
yeah,
So
not
maybe
a
we can
policy.
revisit it.
Yeah, so I'm definitely, open to story time. We are doing the online story time, and that is getting pretty regular, like, views. We usually get 30 views a week doing that.
Oh,
Okay,
And she
that's
hands
good.
out like, 5 to 7 craft kits to kids who come in.
oh, so families come in and they get the craft kits and they
Yeah,
bring it home.
So currently we are doing something that is like a story time program. It's just not an in-person story time program, which is what a lot of people kind of want.
And so is it on YouTube or something, so people can
Yes,
do it
yes.
at any time? They
Yeah.
don't have to do it
Do we
on.
have that we don't have that information on our website. Do we?
I
Yes, I,
believe it's somewhere, but I will make sure it's.
Yeah, if you
more
can get
readily
that to
available.
us,
We've
we
been
can
doing it
get
for a
that
couple
on
years.
but I think, I mean, I didn't realize you were doing it, and so whether we're doing. Instagram or Facebook or whatever, we need to put it out of all those different venues, so that people realize what you're doing, you know.
So
Yeah.
your grandniece can be part of it.
Well, that's it. I mean, I'm thinking, oh, Libby would love to do that. You know, she arrives on Saturday for 9 weeks. So, and I think especially in the summer, when you get so many grandparents that have kids here, they're like, oh, what are we gonna do? It's another thing for them to do. So the more that you can get that out
Okay,
to the public, the better attendance and,
yeah,
the better it is for
Yeah, you guys
everybody.
were sharing it with us, and we were sharing it on the rec page, and I think that's what triggered the conversation, because then parents were like, are they gonna do it? So, it's good. We can talk.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
any other
you.
questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
That's it.
yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Jared.
All right, next item is Main Trails Grants Program.
So Main Trails, maybe Cog sent this out, but I get the Main Trails emails anyway, signed up for them. So right now they've launched a new grant program. Deadline for applications is late September. They recommend planning should begin at least 3 months prior, so that would be June of this year. They do award up to $250,000 for trail work. And there are several different things that you can do listed in the 2 pages there. There's also information on the parcel that we're looking at, it's adjacent to the transfer station. There's a forestry plan in place which expires next year. It's good for 10 years.
And so what does that mean? That we would have to have a new forestry plan? Or,
Well, when it expires, yes, I think the first one we had done did expire. We didn't do anything with it, but it would be good to go in and clear out some of the trees that are old dead before they fall down and right, become a hazard. To do that, maybe in conjunction with planning some sort of a trail there. Mary, you have the history on the previous forestry plan.
Yeah, it expired and we had talked again with the Board of Parks and Rec, and it was put into the Board of Parks and Rec hands when we did the second forestry plan. And it's all about managing our property as well, because, if you don't manage your forests, then you lose the trees like Lorna was talking about. So there's a potential for income there for somebody who might be able to do some kind of harvesting. But there's also a huge potential for our recreational opportunities, as far as, a trail system. We in the past had talked about, having bike trails. We talked about having identification, um,
Signage.
trees, of plants, that kind of trail, kind of an educational trail. We at that time had a tree committee who was a part of this whole program. The first forestry plan did expire. We did redo the forestry plan in 2016, and like Lorna said, it does expire in 2026. So, but it is about managing. There's potentials there. There's over 100 acres, and I'm not sure how much the actual transfer station encompasses. So we'd really want to take a good look at it. But there's opportunities there. And with a $250,000 grant available, I just think that, we should really be looking at moving it forward, because this has been almost 20 years in the making.
It's a great opportunity to put something in place that leaves a legacy behind when we're all not here or in these positions.
Right.
Something that will last for generations to come,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And as we go along to build upon that. I mean, I just think it's.
Seems
I
seems
love
like
the
a great idea that we should put a committee together.
Yeah, so Jamie Dion, Chair of Parks and Rec. We were talking about this 2 years ago and last year also. There's been talks with, I can't remember the other group that we were starting the conversation with, but it fell off. But we've also been talking with the health center, and there is interest with the health center to possibly connect the Center for All Seasons and the health center and talk to the landowners. See if there's a possibility of kind of connecting those with trails. So there's a number of opportunities out there, and there's been kind of preliminary discussions with nothing further.
On that, the parcel line up by the transfer station, I think it's 85 acres that's open. The rest of it, I think, is part of the transfer station, but also the abutting land, my understanding, one of the other entities in town was.
Seven Lakes
Yeah,
has purchased some, it's not adjacent, I don't think, but it's in that same area. I was looking on our tax map.
Yeah, they,
Yeah.
last time I knew, there's in negotiations with the property that's
Yes.
attached to it,
Yeah.
and that would be, if that's the case, then. When
It would
you do a committee, you may want to contact
Yeah.
Seven Lakes to see if they are indeed purchasing that, and then you can attach trails to theirs.
Yeah.
'Cause that's another 150 or 200 acre
I just
parcel.
Seven
think it's
Lakes
a-
would
I
have
think it's
some
an awesome
resources for us to use.
opportunity
They have
For,
they have a lot of trail people, land people,
Yeah.
so,
but bicycles, I mean, a dog walk,
Yeah.
you could snowshoe.
You know,
I mean,
there's,
so many
I know that was one
opportunities.
when I was reading through the survey that went out last summer, that was one of the things that came up in a few different places were places to go for walks and,
I think it caters
recreation.
to a whole range of ages.
Yeah, yes.
Young to
Not in
old.
that
And,
was the
and if
thing,
we're
yeah.
really focused on, bringing in families, I think that obviously helps.
Yeah.
If we can provide them a spot where they can get out, right, and enjoy, a trail system as a family.
Definitely.
So I was just wondering if the board would agree to allow me to put together a very small committee to explore. And then expand as needed. We'd come to you first and see what the feasibility is of it.
How soon does this grant have to be?
It's due
September.
late
September.
September. They've got, they want you to attend a meeting. So I've looked at the calendar. They had several open. There is one, the 29th in Skowhegan that I have open on my schedule that I could attend. To learn about the process, what they're looking for, that sort of thing.
If you're doing it, talking about the parcel, the transfer station, you probably should have Kenny on that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Kenny, Corey,
Committee.
Kristen, Mary said she would sit on it. Yeah,
Should have a couple
just
people
like a
from the
core
public
group,
too.
core group of people.
I'd recommend that you, look at, either Ellen Wells or her husband's Mac McAfee. They are avid bike riders, they're very involved in the Quarry Road Trail System. They actually live in Wildwood, but they own property on the West Road, which they're eventually going to build as their home. And I had just said to her at one time when, we were working on another committee, and she said, that would be really interesting for them. So they might be a really good resource, because they're riding trails all the time. To say, would they be interested in doing some input there, so. I know that's might be a way to go.
See no problem with exploring it, we do have to deal with another forestry plan, get it spoken.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens with this.
It needs to be harvested, or we're gonna end up with a lot of dead trees and a lot of fire hazard in there.
A lot of fall
It
down.
should have been harvested 20 years ago.
Right.
It's really.
Yeah, we still have time before this one expires, so,
So look at that.
and we should act upon it,
We should,
instead of paying for another one.
still have to have the plan in place all the time, but.
Mm.
But
So
yes.
do we need a motion, or do we just, as a consensus, have you go ahead and explore?
Let's make the motion that way, it's.
I move that we authorize the town manager to create a committee to explore the Main Trails grant opportunity.
Second that.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay,
Thank you. You're on the hook, Mary, you're on the hook.
All right, next up is other business. Does anyone else? I have a couple, some items. The else, woman? Okay, Jim.
I just have one thing, this was brought up at a Parks and Rec meeting. And it was brought up by a former staff member at the Center for All Seasons. In the summer, we have approximately 80 children at the Center for All Seasons, and there are days that it gets really, really hot. And there's no type of AC system in the Center for All Seasons. So we were exploring, and I think Bruce might be a good contact for this, but the swamp cooler option, I don't know if you've ever heard
What
of
is it?
What?
It's a swamp cooler.
A swamp,
Yeah, it's basically, water runs through it, it's like a big,
like
They
a
used to
ice
be-
thing?
well, it's a
Like a fan.
chiller, it's a chiller.
So it drops the humidity down.
Right, there's just no real areas where if kids are overheated, there's nowhere for them to go.
Yeah.
So the swamp cooler would cool down the gym significantly. I think I don't know, we'd be looking at Right Reserve to purchase this, we looked at prices of them. Depending on the size, they go up to like $3,700, on the smaller units, that would, maybe with a little room would be probably like $400 or $500. So, I'm not sure if we want to act on this today and authorize up to a certain amount of rec reserve fund to be utilized for something like this, because it is a health and safety issue, or if we want to come back with more information in a couple of weeks.
I mean,
We're
we're
also-
also to see how many tons that gymnasium would take to. Wood.
No, I haven't, that's why I think you'd be a good resource.
I think we're gonna have to come back, because we're also talking about some kind of funds.
Yeah.
Out of the reserve to use on the sound system.
Right, plus
Right,
we're
that's-
committed for 75 for architect
Okay,
engineer,
yeah.
So
remember?
let's
Yeah.
get some numbers,
So
figure out
we're-
what's gonna cost
yeah.
us about it.
I just want to bring this up, because if we're talking about using all this rec reserve funds, I think the health and safety issue is a priority over.
If you can get some estimates and forward those to me, we can put it on the first meeting in June.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
yeah, that's fine.
I'll make a note.
So this would be sort of a way station to getting heat pumps or something like that.
The heat pumps weren't feasible, they.
Heat pumps are
priced
not
us.
even close to feasible, they're talking.
Not in that space.
It's talking like almost $150,000, $200,000 to
Yeah,
do that, build
yeah.
heat pumps.
Plus the cost.
Yeah.
Swamp coolers are
electricity.
probably-
the electricity, which is,
Yeah.
Swamp coolers is basically a fan that runs through, where water goes through, and it's big. But they use them in like, commercial garages, service facilities
Hmm.
to cool down.
I'll have to
Sporting,
Google it when I
they
get
use
it.
It's a
it
good-
on ball field, baseball teams use them.
Yeah, yeah,
A lot less expensive than heat pumps.
right, and it just, like I said, it's just water that runs through it.
Yeah.
They work pretty good, I guess.
And no hazards for kids, it's all enclosed, so
Yeah.
he's gonna lose a finger or anything.
And the cost of operating them is much less than a heat pump.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, it's just something that, you know, I never thought of, but they say it gets really hot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does get very hot, especially with all the sweaty kids.
So I've got a few things that I wanna talk about real quick, and then at the end of the meeting, I do wanna have a quick executive session, so. But, a lot of people in the public are asking about fire station and cost on taxes and stuff, and we've had numbers jumping around from so much per $100 and so much. Can we get a cost per $1,000 evaluation? Because that's the easiest thing for people, they'll look at their number and calculate it.
A $500,000 payment, if we had to bond for 20 years at 5%, would be about 50 cents. If you figure $1 million is about $1 on our mill rate. So $500,000 would be about 50 cents.
Per thousand.
50 cents per thousand evaluation.
Okay, can we get this in writing?
Well, yeah.
Just
Yeah,
write it
well,
up so that we
it's-
can get.
It's in the
newsletter.
newsletter already.
We put
They've already put it in.
Okay, I wanna make sure that that's out there, and I also want it for 30-year bond, because some people have contacted the bond, people from the bond bank, and they're saying they'll do 30-year bonds. So,
For $404,000 a year payment on a 30-year bond at 5%, so you're looking at 40 cents.
okay,
Plus.
so I just want something else that people can be handed that, so that we're not guessing anymore. And find out, did you actually get a hold of the bond bank and talk to them about 30-year bonds?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because I didn't see anything come out other than the email from months ago that said that, you said that the lawyer said that they weren't gonna be doing 30-year bonds.
Right, that was Lee Bragg, who does all of our bond work through Bernstein Sure.
Right.
And he said that we would not know about 30-year bonds until late this summer, along with what the
But
rates.
it
will
sounds
be.
like people have reached out to the bond bank and they said they're doing 30-year bonds.
Yes, they will do a 30-year bond at, I would assume at any time.
Okay. So that's a question, that's that question. Town vehicles, we've had this happen. Back years ago, when Ricky was on, it's come up multiple times where people start complaining because they're seeing town vehicles at people's houses and running to get lunch and everything else. And we need to put a stop to vehicles being used for personal. It's just, it drives me crazy when we start hearing about stuff like that. So,
If someone sees that or has an issue with that, they should contact me.
okay.
I don't know unless.
We
somebody-
need to have a written
Contacts.
policy, if it's not in there, that we can sign that says. Town vehicles are to be taken home at night, they have to be used of. You know, if you're down in the village and you decide you're gonna run home, whether it's down the other end of the depot or up North Belgrade, you gotta go get your own vehicle and go do it, we just. Too many people complaining about. Seeing town vehicles.
Yeah, we don't have any sort of policy.
We need something that way,
I've been working on a fleet policy.
okay,
That issue came up, speaking with Dan, Fire Chief Dan. We had an issue we had to explore, and MMA came back and asked if we had a fleet policy. So they've provided a framework for one. I've been working on a
Okay.
draft to bring.
we definitely need something like that, because I mean, if we have.
So,
Have a vehicle
I'll
ends up in
push
an
that
accident,
forward quicker.
and it's somebody's driving home, or, you know, I just, we don't want any of this liability. And it's not good optics, so.
agree.
um, And then. The building committee, you guys sent out a building committee letter separately for this building.
It's in we did a newsletter, we
Newsletter.
did a thing on a newsletter and it finally got approved.
Okay.
like today.
Did you write it, or? how did it-
Travis wrote it.
Okay. Did it come to you? Was it changed? Did you?
It went back and
We
forth.
edited because of space.
Okay, because.
It was about
right,
double,
right.
it was about double the size of what I took.
Something about they got edited down, and I just want to make sure that it wasn't.
It got,
For space, we did have to edit down because I took out my column, I took out the select board column. I took out everything I could and did not have room to make
Okay,
it.
I just
fit.
wanna make sure it was what
But
the committee wanted.
Yeah, we
It
ended up,
finally did,
we
after a
ended up
while.
with a final draft this afternoon and I moved things around, squashed things a little bit, but it's in.
That's fine,
It's
like I
tight,
said, I just
but
wanted to
it's
make sure it was what they wanted. I don't. Sometimes things get changed and the people that were written them don't like it, so I just wanna make sure that everyone was okay. with it.
It went back to it got edited, and then it got edited again, and then went with a final edit that came from the committee.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, thank you, sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
That's what I
I
had,
think we're good to go.
that's what I had for this
It
part.
looked all right on the page.
Yeah, it looked good, yeah.
Okay. I tried to make it look nice.
Okay. That's all I have for this part of the meeting.
On warrants.
Next is warrants. All right, start off with BMV warrant number 51. That should be for $20,586.14.
Move to approve.
Second,
Any discussion on that one? No, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Payroll warrant number 52. $23,593.54.
Move to approve.
Second,
Anything on that? No, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. AP warrant number 53. $670,780.12.
I did not have any questions on this one. I don't know about anyone else.
I had a question which Lorna answered for me, which was on page.
Generators of Maine.
Page 2, page 2 for generators of Maine. And it was about what is the town off switch for Kane? And we can look at it right here because it's,
Switching a light for the
there's a switching
Boston.
light for the Boston Post Kane over the cabinet.
It's very festive.
It's very festive. So it's not security, it's just light.
It's just like,
Just
yes,
like-
yes,
Accent lighting.
yes, there you go.
Okay.
Are you a home decorator, Dan? That was good.
And I had not so much a question on the amount, but on page 6, the top of page 6 for Sheridan. There's a total of 12,556 for pre-construction for the fire station. And I'm sure that we have it, but I don't recall seeing it recently. The sort of the running total of how much we've spent so
We've got
far.
about 80, just under 90,000 left
Yeah,
of our
yeah.
contract of 170, I want to say it was 178.
We're about halfway through.
Yeah.
We're about halfway.
Yeah, so it's just, this is a progress billing
Right,
as we go.
right, but I just, at some point, just wanted to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
how we're doing on those expenses.
Yeah, I actually have a breakdown in an Excel spreadsheet. I can send that out if you like. I'll make a note
You
of
probably
that.
see the bigger ones coming up because the big nuts and bolts are gonna start coming, the engineering for the electrical and mechanical is the big nuts and bolts.
Anybody got anything else? Doug Strickland said no, so all those in favor?
Did we, I did
I don't
not
think we
have
have
a
a
motion
motion
in a
to
second.
Move to approve.
I thought we
Okay.
did before we started
No.
discussing
Oh,
that.
second.
Okay,
Okay.
now all.
Now,
now we
No.
Okay.
Next is a BMV warrant for $10,122.50.
Move to approve warrant 54.
It's fairly simple, all those in favor?
I didn't have a second.
oh, I'll second that.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And our payroll warrant, Number 55 for $24,090.67.
Move to approve.
Second,
And all those in favor? 2, 3, 4, and 5. County manager report.
The Memorial Day services will take place at the Old Townhouse on Cemetery Road, May 26th at 10 a.m. Mary has her program all together. She printed copies today and gave me some that so that I could provide a copy to you all. So you have that.
Thank you.
In the event of rain, the ceremony will be moved to the Center for All Seasons. Guest speaker this year is Lieutenant Colonel Donald L. LaChapelle. We'll be planting flowers and need volunteers. We've scheduled it for this Thursday, but it looks like we've got a nor'easter coming through Thursday and Friday, high winds and a lot of rain. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work out. It is scheduled for 9 o'clock Thursday. If anyone would like to help, bring a trowel, gloves, hat, bug spray, and maybe an umbrella.
and raincoat.
Maybe a bellwether gear.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Heck with the umbrella.
KVCOG will hold the third annual planning day and general assembly meeting on June 24 at 9 a.m. in Augusta. Select board members are invited to attend. I am planning to attend. It's a good day. They have a ton of different speakers. It's super helpful and it's good networking too. A reminder, we have the summer residence meeting scheduled for August 12th. Audit, I spoke with Jen today, the audit for fiscal year 24 is under technical review. It sounded like this afternoon, things were mostly wrapped up, so we should see the final. She said it would be 1 to 2 weeks once it gets under technical review. The last update we received was April 21, which you received, and our treasurer Penny is working with the auditor Jennifer Connors of RKO. The Dalton demolition should take place in the next 2 weeks. It will be after Memorial Day. Facilities Director Tori Alexander is coordinating with Kevin Hawes and Transfer Station Director Shino, I never know how to say his last name, Skino, for demolition and debris removal. Paving bond bid.
I have a question on that. With the mold in number 8, is there consideration to trying to contain mold spores as that comes down and is carted away? I mean, should we be making sure that that people are not outside as that building is?
I don't think there's enough mold to affect people who are a distance away, but I can check with Corey on that. I don't think it's a problem.
Okay, I mean, just making sure that we don't, depending on which way the wind's blowing, when we want to have, kids on the playground, or is it?
It will be before camp.
I know, but there could be private individuals there. I'm just, I just think we need to be.
Probably close the outside facilities at the center of the day of demolition.
Yeah,
That's what,
You probably want to do that.
you wanna do
You don't
that.
want any kids
Don't
running.
want
over
anyone
there.
don't want anyone running around there anyway.
Plus, it's gonna be loud, it's loud, so the equipment's loud when it bangs stuff around, so.
right, but just. so
Well,
we're taking
maybe you
care-
want
Safety.
people working to be masked.
Well, that's up to them, it's a hard.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a note here, so I'll get a hold of Corey and Kristen and we'll coordinate that.
Okay.
You gotta remember, all that debris going from there, it's gonna get dumped over the transfer station, so it's gonna be out in the open in the transfer station anyway.
Right.
Paving bond bids will go out, this week with the due date of June 10 to be ready for your regular meeting on June 17. That's the bond for our paving that get approved at town meeting. BLA is funding an intern in coordination with Seven Lakes Alliance to gather information on septic systems in the shoreline zone. We do have a database of some septic systems, because we get the applications for them. But we have not researched every file in shoreline zone. Some people don't have a plan filed. That sort of thing. This is an opportunity to expand our database while compiling information like the average age, size, and usage of septic systems in the shoreline zone. Data will be owned by the town in an effort to assist our code and enforcement officer and allow us to see the scope of the septic situation. There is no cost to the town for that. I reached out to my HR contact, MMA and our employer legal counsel for ideas and resources with regard to board training. HR thought MMA does this, but they do not. They only offer the elected officials workshops. They do not do on-site training. Ian Freeman, who is an attorney, employment law, does this type of training and estimated the cost at $2,500. The paving contract has been reviewed by legal counsel and signed by both the town and Pike Industries, so work should begin soon. The mailer for the special town meeting has been sent out. In fact, I believe all of you probably already received it. Yeah, good. The information is also posted to our website. The QR code on the mailer would take the public to that page so they can review all materials prior to the May 28th meeting. A special thank you to select persons Barbara Allen, Carol Johnson, Michael Lynn Smith, and office staff for getting this out so quickly. That was a really quick turnaround. We're wrapping up work on the summer newsletter and hope to have that out this week. I did get a quote back from Marcel to do the printing and all of that this afternoon. And it looks like he is right on target with what we've been paying going to Winthrop. But he's local, so I think we should use him and we should have that. I'm hoping we have that wrapped up by tomorrow so he can get to printing. At the May 6th select board meeting under public comment, we had a community member ask questions regarding the reverse osmosis systems the state will install for well contamination properties. Some of those questions were, who is responsible for septic systems if they fail? Who pays for long-term maintenance of systems? Will these harm other nearby wells? Who trains the homeowner on operation of the system? And septic system failure, is this happening with the systems the state is installing? So I reached out to Dwight Dowdy. You saw his responses. I forwarded that to you, but I wanted this for the public. So Dwight Dowdy responded, all good questions. The short version is, no, the treatment systems do not impact septic systems. Our setup includes a storage tank, which reduces the need to generate large volumes of water at any one time. Further, any softeners installed typically have a 2-week backwash cycle that produces 40 to 80 gallons of effluent. Each homeowner will be given a general overview of the treatment system, but we encourage the units to be maintained by a properly licensed professional. Settlement with each property owner will include money for annual maintenance for a 15-year period.
Oh, to go back to BLA and Seven Lakes.
Yes.
If BLA is funding an intern, that would only cover Great Pond and Long Pond. Is that right? Is that correct?
That is-
So we don't have information on septic around Great Pond and Long Pond.
Yes.
But we wouldn't have it for Meslansky, Salmon. And what, and Bra, there's some more about that's important. So,
You know, I think if they get this, once they figure out how to work through that system, I think it would be an excellent jam plan with a Colby student to work on McGraw, Salmon, Meslansky. Part of it is just, let's see how, and it's an intern to work between Belgrade and Rome. So we figure out how to do it, what you need, what's the information. Then the logical one is a jam plan when you don't have to pay anyone to do it. Which could help work on expanding that database. So. And we've talked about maybe, depending on what's the volume, probably one person can't do the volume for just even Great Pond and Long Pond that we're paying for, we the BLA. Of setting up some jam plan study programs, so.
and so is
Resource.
is this being done not just in Belgrade, but in other towns? You said Rome, is it gonna be done on the Mount Vernon side?
No, right now, just Belgrade and Rome,
Belgrade.
because you've got to figure out exactly how you're gonna do it first.
So this is a brand new program.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Nice.
And Hans was very excited about it as well.
I'm sure
It
if you get
really
all the
is.
stuff and you,
It provides a great deal of
Yeah,
information
it
for us,
does.
which is super helpful.
Yeah.
The rotten part is it'd be awful nice if we could get the upstream lakes. dealt
I'm
with.
sorry,
The upstream ponds that feeder into our ponds, because I tell you, their septics are ferocious.
I mean, it's something that probably eventually should be done anywhere, but you've gotta work it first in a small group and work out your kinks.
Right.
And then say, oh, this would work here, or maybe it wouldn't work here because this is why, but
I can tell you, the north end of McGraw Pond septics are ferocious, and so.
is that where the Oakland mess is? So,
Yep.
Okay.
So the select board roster print out here, it needs some corrections, so. If you wanna make any changes and get them. Over, it'd be great.
okay,
Carol, the phone number they were here, it says work phone, is that your cell phone?
I'm sorry,
Is this your cell phone or your work phone? I got it down here as work.
my cell phone, I only have one that I put out, 603-828-1252,
Okay, so that's your cell.
okay.
I have it listed as work. They didn't have my address. They didn't have the area code. They don't have a phone number for Doug and Michael.
Okay, so we can put that in.
If you want.
Oh,
It
there
has
was one
to
the other
pass
day, I
around.
thought we
You
should have
can,
added that.
should have had one, I think, in your stuff too, but. Go ahead and check it and make sure that.
I don't know where that came from.
You had it in front, right with my.
This is from
meeting-
March
meeting agenda.
17.
Oh, well, it was in with our meeting agenda. First time I've noticed it.
Oh, that must have been because of.
Well, we need to
The
read the
office
little
put your
pocket.
binder together, so maybe that's something
Yeah, because
that
I
there
know
was
it's on the
printed
fire department, we usually
previously.
have. to go
And
far,
it came out
but
the
it's
printer
They
and
didn't
just
move
got,
around.
yeah,
And it's
no,
old.
I didn't put that, we, I don't think anybody knowingly included it.
Lorna,
No.
we need to have new little pocket ones
Yeah,
that have Melanie and, not Melanie, that have Melanie and Peter not on there, and Michael and Doug, and there was someone else I was thinking should be on there.
So those were redone and those were put into your boxes
Box.
in envelopes. Ian redid all of them.
Yeah, cause I
You have,
I took a screenshot and sent
Yeah.
one to Doug the other day, cause I didn't use.
did you
it.
take one out of your box? Maybe?
Maybe it's still in my box.
Oh.
It's actually, they printed them a couple times, cause I think Dan McKenzie, there was something wrong.
Yeah,
He had
his
to-
was the wrong number.
Well, and also the terms are gonna change because of the change in fiscal year. So the
correct.
terms, instead of going to
Oh,
three
that's
31,
true.
are gonna go to.
Yeah, those aren't on the little card though.
No, but.
Right, but they're on this.
She's talking about updating the report.
This is what Dan brought up.
We'll check them.
Yeah, we'll just make sure that roster's up to date for it's in the website, right, and everything else.
Okay.
Ready, so, what I wanna do is we'll end it, we'll take a break and then we'll go into an executive session. That's just,
Under what number?
it's personnel. And actually, it's one I would have want to set up, then she can leave. This is the talk about steps for going over. Manager's contract, it's gonna be upcoming and stuff.
Okay, so, I move that we exit our regular session at at 7:53.
Second.
All those in favor? Nothing. And we'll take a break.
Oh, we'll take a break.
Need a, also when I get moved,
Find a way to set it up, so.
Dan's gonna